Hello everyone and welcome to my tier list ranking of all Mass Effect characters and companions and squad mates.
Lockhart QT.
In this video I'll be going over all crewmates, squad mates, romances, characters, NPCs. I'm not doing every character because then this video would be hours and hours and hours long. So really I've narrowed it down to the ones that are both your crewmates on your ships, so the Normandy and the Tempest in the original trilogy and Andromeda, as well as romances and a few extra characters as well, such for example Joker as well. So let's get right into it with the trash tier. So there's only 2 characters in here, but I genuinely do not like these characters, and if there is an option to not talk to them, I will actually go out of my way not to talk to them. But obviously, you know, I'm a completionist, I will do their quests. But in very last place is Ashley Williams. Now, I know this is already going to cause so much controversy and chaos in the comments and dislikes, but I do not like Ashley. She's racist, she's xenophobic, she's disloyal to Shepard both Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 with the whole thing with the counselors and Udina. I just genuinely do not like her, and she's just so racist and xenophobic. I just don't understand how people can romance her and say that she's best girl. I have no idea. Next up, also in the trash tier, is Liam Costa. He's one of the companions from Mass Effect Andromeda. He's sort of like, I don't hate him like I do with Ashley, I just genuinely find him annoying. As an Englishman myself, I think he does a disservice to all of us, if I'm being perfectly honest. I just don't like Liam Costa. He's really annoying, but he does have that one line about shooting an enemy in the face that I'll play now.
I think I really pissed that one off. Maybe because I shot him in the face.
But other than that, he's just genuinely trashed here. I really just didn't like his character. Next up is Navigator Presley. Man, this guy got done dirty. Spoilers, by the way, I should have really said that at the start. But yeah, this will contain spoilers for the original trilogy as well as Andromeda. But Presley got done dirty. He dies at the beginning of Mass Effect 2. And the only reason I don't actually dislike him is just that he just doesn't have any character growth because he dies so early on in the trilogy. So I don't know. I wish he could have stayed a bit longer and seen what we could have accomplished. But hey, there you go. Next up is Callow from Mass Effect Andromeda. Again, not really too much to say. I didn't really like him that much. He's into gossip and that sort of thing, which is something I don't really like. He's the pilot of the Tempest in Andromeda, and yeah, I just didn't really vibe with him, really. Next up, also from Mass Effect Andromeda, by the way, I'm not going to lie to you, this should set the tone for Mass Effect Andromeda, a lot of the characters are quite low, but is Gil. I know a lot of people actually quite liked his romance, but unfortunately I just didn't do it. But with Gil, again, I just didn't really talk to him too much. I don't really remember too much about him, so I reckon once I play Andromeda this could change, but in the top of my head, he's just not very memorable, and I feel like that has to put him lower on the list. Next up, going back to the original trilogy, is Morinth. Now, Morinth is really interesting because she's a villain, but she can join your squad, which is really interesting. But yeah, again, I prefer Samara, who's higher on the list, who I'll get to later. But yeah, Morinth, I didn't really want to put her too much higher just because she's a villain, she's evil. And yeah, so let's go on to the next one, which is my boy Engineer Adams. Again, I feel like he should be higher, but I don't really dislike any traits with Engineer Adams. If anything, I'd say he's a bit plain, a bit boring. But at the same time, with Engineer Adams, I feel like he's not in Mass Effect 2, so I feel like that there is a bit of disloyalty there. He does actually, when he comes aboard the ship in Mass Effect 3, does apologise to Shepard, but for me personally, the damage is already done. You know, I mean, Garrus came with us, Tali came with us, you know, why couldn't he at the end of the day? Next up is Kelly Chambers. Now, I feel so sorry for the people who romanced Kelly Chambers. They get done absolutely dirty in Mass Effect 3 with her romance line. But yeah, again, I didn't really dislike Kelly Chambers too much. But again, I can't really put her any higher because I actually quite like a lot of the other characters before her. Next up is Nyreen Kandros from the Omega DLC in Mass Effect 3. Again, I can't really, put her too much higher just because you don't really get to know her too much because she's only in that DLC. She sadly dies in that DLC. But I did like her relationship with Arya. Again, I'll get onto Arya later on. But yeah, she was okay. She's not too bad. Next up is, oh god, I can't even remember his name. It's like Jarl. It's the Angaran that joins your crew in Mass Effect Andromeda. Again, with a lot of the Andromeda characters, I haven't played it in like a year and a half, so this is kind of biased, I suppose. But with Jarl, I just can't really remember too much. But from what I do remember, I remember somewhat liking him. I quite liked his voice. I think they gave him like a Hispanic or Latino voice actor. Again, I could be completely wrong on that, but I do remember certain bits, and yeah, I feel like, again, you can't really put him too much higher. Next up is Javik. Javik, for me, is an interesting character because I think he would be very much higher if it wasn't for the fact that he keeps on going about wanting to conquer the galaxy, and, you know, again, is quite xenophobic towards a lot of the other characters. But what redeems Javik for me and stops him from being a lot lower on the list is that in Shepard's party in Mass Effect 3, he has some brilliant lines where he's drunk saying that he wants to conquer the universe and things like that, and just questions. It's things like that I really liked. But yeah, I also really didn't like his conversations with Liara at times, but yeah, there's Javik. Next up is Dr. Lexi from Andromeda. She's the ship's medic, as well as I think she's a medic on the Ark as well, but again, she's the Tempest's doctor. Again, I didn't really just vibe with her too much. I did find her quite friendly, and I did enjoy some conversations with her. I think it doesn't help her case that her model is actually, there's like hundreds of Asari female like models pretty much copy and pasted from hers. You know, in Andromeda, just because of technical difficulties. I imagine they found it easier just to copy and paste the model. So for me, puts her in D tier and keeps her in D tier. Next up, we're leaving the D tier and going straight into C tier, and next up is James Vega. Now, again, I know people are going to come at me here, and this is going to be really controversial, but I'm still salty with James after those push-ups and pull-ups that I had to do. Genuinely, I did all pull-ups in every single playthrough, and my first time doing it when I was playing it blind, I thought I was going to get an achievement, but I do like the fact that James can be quite... he's quite cringy at times. He thinks that he's bigger than he is. He's like the muscle head of the group. I do quite like that, to be fair. And I think all the characters going on from here I actually do quite like. But again, I have to put characters lower than others at the end of the day. Next up from Mass Effect 2 is Jacob Taylor. Jacob would be a lot higher. Well, he'd probably be in B tier for me. But Jacob gets put down just because he's not disloyal to Shepard, but... again, like, I feel bad for people who romanced him, because again, they get done dirty, and I feel like when Jacob goes off and has the child in Mass Effect 3, when he leaves and refuses to come back to the Normandy, and he says like, oh, I wish I was there, it's like, yeah, of course you do, Jacob. But yeah, I did like his storyline with his father, but for me, Jacob was a really missed opportunity. I feel like they could have done a lot more with his character, but at the same time, I feel like he was just meant to be a generic soldier, like Kaidan, for example, who, you know, was... the reason that he's one of the first crewmates you meet in Mass Effect 2 is because he's a bit vanilla, he's a bit plain, and then it sort of eases you into some of the more crazier characters going down the line. Next up is Suvi from Andromeda. Now, I'm really biased on this one, I'm not going to lie to you. She'd be a hell of a lot lower if it wasn't for the fact that she's got I think it's a Scottish or Irish accent, which both I'm very much in for, as well as she's a redhead. I'm very much into redheads. I did try to romance her as a male rider, however, she's not into men, which is perfectly fine, and this is sounding very creepy as I'm saying it, but hey ho. But yeah, no, joking aside with Suvi, yeah, I just like... I just quite... I liked her design, I liked her voice, I liked her demeanour. Wasn't too much into the religion talk, but hey ho, there you go. Next up is my man, Kaidan Alenko, the true survivor of the Vermeer bomb. Let's be real, Kaidan is so much better in Ashley in every way. I will admit, Kaidan starts off as, again like Jacob, a introductory character to ease the player into the squad mate system. But for me, I almost said Jacob then. Kaidan's, again, he's very plain, very boring. That stops him from being a couple tiers higher. I did like, apparently his romance is a lot better. When you're with male Shepard, apparently he opens up a bit more, but yeah, I do like his his backstory and his biotics and whatnot. But again, yeah, I think Kaidan's a bit too plain for me. But yeah, again, it stops him from being higher. Next up is Zaid. There's not really too much to say. He's an old grizzled veteran. I really liked him at the party where he's flirting with Samara and other characters, and he's just talking about like beasts that he's killed, or generals that, or mercenaries that he's killed. He's ruthless, but he can be funny at times. Next up is Dr. Chakwas, who's the doctor and medical engineer aboard the Normandy. I really liked her character. She's completely loyal to Shepard in Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3. That's if she survives the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2. But yeah, I feel like in Mass Effect 3 especially, I feel like they could have given her a lot more, which is again stopping her from being higher on the list. But Dr. Chakwas, I think she was really brilliant. Plus the fact that when Shepard has that drink with her, it made me feel all sort of warm and nostalgic inside when I played through. Because when I played through the trilogy for the first time blind, I played through back to back. I played Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, then Andromeda. So yeah, I really liked Dr. Chakwas. That's all I can say, really. Next up, and by the way, I'm not going to pronounce her full name because I don't want to be here for half an hour, is PB from Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, a lot of people are going to be shocked that I've actually got her quite low. I've got her in C tier, as most people would put her a lot higher. But for me, it's some of her more, I don't know, I guess like lone wolf tendencies, plus her design is weird. I'm sure you've all seen the memes when Andromeda came out of PB, but with the weird facial animations, which is obviously an Andromeda-wide issue. It's also the face paint and stuff as well. It just looks really off. And if you can actually get mods from Andromeda which fix her face, but yeah, it's just all of that combined. I feel like she just belongs in C tier. Now, this is another one that's probably going to cause some controversy for her being so low, but in C tier, I've got Kasumi Gato from, obviously, Mass Effect 2 and 3. I feel like in Mass Effect 3, she does get done a bit dirty, but again, if you have the DLC and go to the party, she has some brilliant stuff where she's actually, like, perving on Shepard and going through, like, Shepard's underwear drawer and things like that. It's just really funny, and she'll be, like, invisible going around the party. See, saying this out loud makes me want me to put her a lot higher, but honestly, Kasumi, I don't know, I didn't really like her character as much as others, but I still really like Kasumi. I think from Kasumi onwards are the characters I actually like a lot more, but again, there's got to be an order, there's got to be a hierarchy. Now, when I first played Mass Effect, with the next character being Cortez, who's the shuttle pilot from Mass Effect 3, I would have, when I was originally doing this video, because this video has been in the works for quite a while now, because I keep changing my mind and having to re-record it and things like that, Cortez would have been a hell of a lot lower. But when I played the Legendary Edition a couple of months ago, and I 100%ed it again, I really did vibe with Cortez. I really liked his character and his journey that he goes on from essentially being like, what's the point in living anymore? Because basically what happens is he loses his husband. But yeah, for me, Cortez would have been a lot lower, but again, I really liked his character. He was really kind, really lovely, really brave, and it's just certain moments. I'm just glad to know he survived at the end of Mass Effect 3, because I'm not gonna lie, when that shuttle went down when I was playing it blind, my heart stopped, because I was like, oh god, he's dead, but luckily he survives. Now, going into B tier, we have Samantha Trainer. Now, I've been iffing and ahhing about whether or not to put Samantha in B tier or C tier, but again, I think it was really the Citadel DLC that really opened my eyes for Samantha. I think this was the original DLC that actually added her as a female Shepard romance option. But yeah, I really liked Samantha. I liked her like one-liners with the toothbrush with the Mass Effect fields, and it ending up saving the Normandy. I think Shepard says like, "Oh, I owe a new toothbrush." She was also a really good replacement for Kelly Chambers. I feel it was really weird that Kelly Chambers just didn't come back onto the Normandy. I feel like that would have been a very easy thing for her to do, but yeah, I really like Samantha. Next up, now we're actually getting towards the end of the Andromeda characters, but is Nakmor Drak, who's basically, the only reason why he's in B tier is because he's essentially Wish.com Rex. He's basically the old grizzled veteran. He's like, I'm too old for this crap on the Tempest, and he's a Krogan as well, so I just love the Krogan in general, as you'll find out later on the list. But yeah, I quite like Drak. Next up is Cora. Now, Cora would have been in C tier if it wasn't for the fact that for my romance video, I actually recently replayed Andromeda a few months ago, and yeah, it was it's one of those where with Korra, I think at the start she's a terrible character. She's essentially a tsundere who dislikes Ryder because Ryder essentially takes her job as the hierarchy for the next Pathfinder, because she's essentially Ryder's dad's mentor, trainee, like apprentice sort of thing, and then she doesn't get the Pathfinder job you do, so she comes to resent you. I think the reason that she's in B tier for me is, one, her romance is quite good. Two, I think that she does get better towards the end of the game. Like, she gets really tolerable to the point where you actually then grow to love her, and it's sort of that longer bond which made me put her in B tier, really. Although we're still in B tier, we're now going on to the characters that I really like this sort of midpoint in the B tier is where we start to ramp things up a bit with the fan favourites. Next up is Samara, who is essentially, I don't even know how to put this, she's an Asari Justicar, but let's be honest, she's basically the Mass Effect equivalent to a Jedi. She's just really wise, really powerful, really strong, confident. I love her meditation, her one-liners. She turns down my man Zaid at the party, and yeah, she's just a really cool character. I really almost put her at lower, actually, when I remembered that scene where she goes to essentially kill herself to stop herself from killing her daughters, but then again, that proves how much she loves her daughter, and she wants to, she's saddened at the fact that she had to kill Morant for her code, essentially, because she's an Arda Yakshi. But yeah, I think everyone chose Samara over Morant, let's be real. But yeah, I think it's really funny as well when you go to romance Justicar that you actually die in the game ends. I think that's really funny. But yeah, I really like Samara. Next up is my favourite Geth unit with a soul. It's Legion. Legion has a really good story. At first, I actually, again, playing blind, I knew about a lot of characters going into Mass Effect because I've seen them on like posters and in trailers. Going in blind and meeting Legion was just really good. I really liked his character. Plus, I think he has the best payoff for any character besides a certain character who I'll go into later. As the ending when he's on the beach and he goes to his knees and he just like falls over dead, and it's the bit where he asks Tali, I think he asks Tali and Shepard, where he says, does this unit have a soul? It's like, yes, of course you do, Legion. Next up and top of B tier is Edie. Edie would have been an A tier, but again, I just feel like a lot of the characters later on in the list are a lot better than Edie, but her dry sense of humour, her dry wit, her charisma later on in the game especially, plus I really liked her romance with Joker. She's really funny. I think she has a line in Mass Effect 2 about she enjoys the sight of humans on their knees when she says when Joker's trying to save the ship, and it just made me chuckle. I just love Edie overall. Now getting into the really spicy stuff, we have A tier, and sort of starting off A tier is Miranda Lawson. She's cool, confident, beautiful. Miranda is a really good character. I feel like certain people were annoyed with her romance in Mass Effect 3 because you do get done dirty a bit because she's not aboard the Normandy. I feel like if Miranda had stayed upon the Normandy in Mass Effect 3, I feel like for me she'd be a lot higher. I really liked her story with her father and her sister, and again I really liked all of the ties she has with Cerberus, and then she essentially cuts all ties to Cerberus for Shepard. And again, she's just one of the better characters for me. I mean, essentially she is the female poster character for Mass Effect 2, so there you go. Next up is Thane. I really liked Thane. He's cool, calm, collected. Plus, I really liked his story of redemption. He's trying to redeem himself. He's trying to essentially get over the fact that he's not just a mindless assassin mercenary. He's actually more than that. I really liked his story with his son. And also his tragic death in Mass Effect 3 was heartbreaking. Like, straight up, I genuinely teared up when I first played Mass Effect 3. Next up is Mordin. There's not really too much to say about Mordin. He's really funny. The fact that he both understands on like scientifically and biologically, but at the same time he just doesn't understand all the other races. He's very socially awkward, but his singing and just common misconceptions cracked me up all the time. Plus his like one-liners were brilliant. Also, if you do pick this choice, obviously, I'd argue and say he's one of the sadder deaths in Mass Effect, where he sacrifices himself for the genophage. I think it really brings that whole story to a round robin, it basically completes it essentially with the whole Krogan, Solarian, genophage storyline. I feel like that was the perfect ending. Next up is Grunt. Grunt is, well, he's Grunt. I feel like one of the best lines in the entire trilogy is in the Citadel DLC, where Grunt is arrested and then he's telling Shepard the story of how he got arrested, and it's just really chaotic, and he's just drawing things, and it's just really stupid. And then one of the options you can have is turning around to Grunt and saying, "You're my hero, Grunt," and it's like, yeah, he is. Again, he's just really funny. At first, I didn't think I'd like Grunt as much as Rex, which isn't the case, but I still really liked Grunt. I feel like he was a breath of fresh air going into Mass Effect 2. He's really funny, he's really strong, and he just has, again, some really great lines. Again, where he's at the door in the Citadel DLC and he's telling people no to go away, and that's his whole job at the party. I just thought that was really funny. Next up is Nyx, and this is the only Andromeda character in the next two tiers. She's the last Andromeda character. She's an A tier for me because I feel like she is the best squad mate in Andromeda. She's one of the actual more tolerable characters. I feel like Nyx could fit into the Normandy crew if they obviously changed a lot of things. I really liked her story with her sister. I really liked her backstory, and I really like it as well because in Andromeda you can obviously go around the different planets, and in the sort of hub world of each planet you can talk to the different characters like you can in the original trilogy. And Nyx just has some brilliant lines when she's like waiting in Kadara Port, for example. I just really liked it, and again I thought she was the best romance in Andromeda. Next up is Rex. He's one of the most loyal squad mates. Rex, for me, was just brilliant. I think he is the best Krogan character. I feel like BioWare have done themselves dirty because, in my opinion, they'll never have a better Krogan character than Rex if they do have more squad mates going into the future. He's one of the OG trilogy characters, and although he is playable in DLC, and I think he's playable during the a couple missions in Mass Effect 3 as well. But I just really love Rex. He starts off really sort of brutish, violent, and then mellows out. My favourite line with Rex is where Rex and Shepard are talking about mating, with the fact that obviously they've cured the genophage and Rex has to essentially repopulate the Krogans, and he's getting all of these hundreds and thousands of requests to mate with him because he's essentially the clan leader, and he like slams his head and he's like, "I need 2 ice packs, one for my head and one for down there." It just made me laugh so much. I just love Rex. Like, I get happy thinking about him because I think of him as part of the Normandy, and he's part of the OG trilogy, and he's part of the OG crew. Next up is Aria T'Loak. She's in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. Aria's a really interesting character because she's a badass, she's a lone wolf. She is, I think her own line that she gives herself, where she says, "I am Omega," is spot on. She is Omega. She is the life and blood that goes into Omega. I really liked the Omega DLC where we go a bit more into her backstory with all the other characters that you meet in that DLC, but she's really badass, and I feel like they did miss a bit of an opportunity to have her as an actual romance option. She can kiss Shepard. I don't know if it's both female and male, but I know she can kiss Shepard. That is an option. However, I do feel like that romance option should have been there in Mass Effect 3. But yeah, I just really liked her. She's a badass essentially. Now we're getting into S tier territory. These are the top 5 characters. These characters are so good, I don't even know how to really explain them too well, because these characters are both really loyal to Shepard, they're funny, they're brilliant. So let's get right started. Number 5 is Jack. Jack has, I feel like she would be a lot lower. I feel like most people would put Rex in this spot. For me, Jack goes through the best character arc in all of, basically the entirety of all these characters. She has the best start, middle and finish. where essentially she goes from being this lone wolf badass who hates everyone, hates everything, hates Cerberus, and then again eases into it with the squad and the friendship and the teammates. And then you get into Mass Effect 3 where she's there at the party, she's still calling Miranda cheerleader and whatnot, and again her story of how Cerberus treated her, and then she's been running along with pirates and mercenaries and thugs. Jack, upon meeting Shepard, learns friendship, teamwork, how to control yourself, how to control your anger, and love as well, which is a really important one. Next up is Joker at number 4. He is the pilot of the Normandy, voiced by Seth Green, who is Chris in Family Guy, as well as Robot Chicken. Joker's brilliant. He's the funniest character in the entire Mass Effect series. He has brilliant one-liners. I think he had just brilliant... He was given brilliant writing. I think Seth Green did a brilliant job with the script overall. The constant just poking fun at all the other races as well as humanity. He pokes fun at all characters, including like Jack, Arya, Samara. He'll have little one-liners about them saying like, oh, what are they going to do with this? Or something like that. So I really like Joker. Plus he's one of the only characters who is fully loyal to Shepard. I mean, the best part of that is that if you go into Mass Effect 2, he straight up joins... As soon as he hears that Shepard is in Cerberus, he's there. He's in Cerberus straight away. And the fact that, you know, if you pick Destroy, the fact that Edie's killed, it broke my heart when I played it, because I realised that they won't be able to complete their romance. But Joker and Edie's romance, as I said earlier, it was just really good, and it was one of the best in the trilogy, to be honest. Next up in third place is Liara Tassoni. Now I feel like this is where people are going to get a bit more decisive. These top 3 are so good that all 3 of them could easily be number 1. Like, that is how good this top 3 is. Liara has one of the best romances in the trilogy. She's beautiful, smart, strong. Her biotic powers are brilliant. As an actual gameplay thing, which I haven't really talked about for any of the characters on this list, she's actually she's one of the most OP characters in my opinion, as in terms of squad mates. She's just, I can't really say too much. Like, for most people, she is the poster child of Mass Effect besides Shepard. Like, if you think of Mass Effect, you think of Commander Shepard, then after that you think of Liara. I know a lot of people will have other choices, but for most people it is Liara. I'm pretty sure in the metadata released by BioWare for both the Legendary Edition as well as the original trilogy, Liara was the most fan favourite character, alongside she was the most picked romance. In number 2 we have my man Garrus, which is... I really wanted to put Garrus at number 1. He's genuinely, other than Joker, one of the most loyal characters. Again, once he sees Shepard and Omega, he's like, yep, I'm coming, joining Cerberus. He's there in Mass Effect 1, and obviously Mass Effect 3 comes back as well. See, when I first played Mass Effect 1, I didn't really think too much of Garrus, but then you get into Mass Effect 1, and then he's best friend material straight away. Like, Garrus is, in my playthroughs, my best friend. Like, Garrus is there, like... Obviously, I haven't romanced Garrus because I don't swing that way. But for me, Garrus was just an incredible character. He is friendship and loyalty to Shepard. Plus, he has incredible one-liners throughout the entire trilogy. There are so many that I can't pick, but the one that springs to my head is just obviously the calibrations meme. I feel like that's what most people know Garrus for. I'm sorry, can this wait? I've got some calibrations to do. Like, I love that so much. At first, when I first played it, that annoys me, but then after like the 400th time of hearing it, I was like, this is brilliant. And like, I'll just go round the corner, come back and talk to him, and I'll hear it again. Now, I'm very sorry for my voice. It's probably gone and it's probably shattered and deteriorated, but now at number 1, in my opinion, the best character in the entire Mass Effect series is Tali. Most people already know this because, I mean, by the time this video probably goes live, I've actually got an artist working on some new like channel branding which involves Tali, so be on the lookout for that. But Tali is not only best girl in Mass Effect, in my opinion, she's best girl, period. Like, Tali is so good. She's a little ragamuffin that is just... She's so sweet and innocent. And then you go into Mass Effect 2 and 3 and she's all sort of grown up, and also the bit on Rannoch about finding a home and building a home and a family with Shepard. That, because in Mass Effect 2 and 3 I was sort of iffing and ahhing. I was like, who do I romance? Do I romance Miranda? Do I romance Liara? And then as soon as I started talking to Tali in Mass Effect 2 and the end of Mass Effect 1, I was like, right, I think I've got to go with Tali. She's genuinely best girl, hands down. I just love her design, the fact that I feel like for a character who wears a helmet and you can't actually see her face or her emotions, I feel like she's one of the most expressive and emotive characters in the entire series. Her one-liners, also, I completely forgot to bring about this, the drunk Tali in the Citadel DLC is so funny. Like, honestly, drunk Tali makes me laugh so much. The fact that she gets a tattoo. Like, how did she... Because the Quarians can't take off their suits, so how did she get a tattoo? I want to know that. And the whole induction port with the straw, and there's just so many more just brilliant lines and moments with Tali. But for me, as I said earlier, I feel like the thing that really cements her at this top spot is the entire Rannoch storyline in Mass Effect 3. Also the storyline with her father in Mass Effect 2, and just how you meet her as well, that she's sort of this... I think she's a perfect introduction to her entire race for like a blind playthrough. Someone who isn't familiar with Mass Effect like I was a fair few years ago. I think Tali's just this brilliant introduction. Anyway, oh god, thank god. This video, I was thinking in my head, oh, this is going to be 15 minutes long. It's probably going to end up being like 40 minutes long, so I do apologise if you have stuck to the end. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. But yeah, that's my... I think it's either 39 or 40 characters. That I've probably missed a few of the romances and a few of the extra characters, but these are all the characters that I wanted to put on the list because a lot of these characters are fan favourites. I feel like halfway through C tier, going onwards, actually I'll change it, I think I said halfway through B tier. I feel like halfway through B tier are the fan favourites. I think Samara onwards for me is just like... I think those are some of the best characters in gaming, period. I think Mass Effect is brilliant for that. You have loads of characters that you just get attached to and feel something for, and romance if you want to. But thank you all so much for watching, and I won't keep rambling on because I have been rambling on for 30 odd minutes. But I love Tali, she's best girl. Ashley sucks, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.